Welcome to Social Circle, Georgia, along the CSX Georgia Subdivision. And today we are joined by a special visitor, the Georgia Railroad Heritage Unit, sporting homage to the history of the men and women of this rail line and its former glory. Today we will follow and enjoy the sights and sounds of the Georgia Railroad. Social Circle was incorporated as a town in 1832 and later as a city in 1904, while the railroad made its way into town circa 1837. The first depot was destroyed by General T. Sherman during his march to the sea and destroyed the line between Madison and Social Circle. It was rebuilt in 1866 and then again rebuilt in 1913 after a fire and still stands today, though it was nicely renovated these past few years in 2023 and 2024 by CSX. Social Circle was in a very important spot for the growth of Georgia's economy, where oil mills, cotton gins, and a very large textile factory developed, mainly because of the railroad and its influence early on. Though today it sits relatively quiet, with business still somewhat thriving all around between the two railroads of CSX Transportation and the Great Walton Railroad, which interchanges right here by the depot in the yard limits. Today, we're going to follow one of the many local freights which make up the Georgia Subdivision and its core traffic, train L838. L838 goes on duty at 5:30 p.m. every day, 5 days a week, and is off on the weekends. They collect up all the cars for Atlanta and beyond, and then depart for Lithonia Georgia to pick up more cars while occasionally working a couple industries in between at Covington, Georgia, and just railroad north of Lithonia, Georgia. The Georgia Subdivision runs southward from the YYG 149.0 in Lithonia, Georgia, coming off the Atlanta Terminal Subdivision, to the YYG 3.1 in Harrisonville, Georgia, just outside of Augusta, Georgia, where it meets the Augusta Subdivision of the Florence Division. The road running for a total of 145.9 miles, and it has also the Camak Subdivision, which branches off at Camak, Georgia, originally running to Macon, Georgia, but now only to just outside of Sparta, Georgia.
locomotive 1834, northbound main track, Georgia Subdivision.
Much of the Georgia subdivision north of Social Circle is made up of condensed towns growing in size until they roughly start becoming the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, the capital of our state. Though there are the few exceptions such as the Alcovy Trestle and Stone Mountain, Georgia, where the small town feels are still going strong despite the growth in population over the past few years. The Alcovy Creek specifically has a massive trestle running over it, which was rebuilt in 1867 just after the original structure was burned by General Sherman, making for a lovely shot of our train rushing north on its way to Lithonia. This trestle has some dark history, as it was rumored in the 1940s to be the site of several brutal hangings carried out by vigilantes, leaving spirits behind to haunt during the evening and night hours around its base. After picking up cars in Covington, Georgia from an industry, L838 pulls into Lithonia for a quick stop before departing north towards the Home Depot lead, where they'll pick up the rest of their train before continuing on towards Atlanta. You can hear in the background the Lithonia switcher working hard with two old Jeeps as they get their cars switched out for the various and many industries in and around Lithonia. Stone Mountain, Georgia is a very unique place as it not only has the world's largest exposed rock as an attraction, but also the fact it sports its original Georgia Railroad brick depot, still as beautiful as it was back in the olden days. Long gone are the days of heavy steam or even the long freights with a consist of 6 to 8 mix and match diesel locomotives from various generations. Now all you'll see are tired CSX EMDs and large 6-axle GEs sprinting through the 50-mile-an-hour stretch of track that is technically now on the Atlanta Terminal Subdivision. After passing through Holsey Yard, which we could not beat the train to, the former Georgia Railroad's Atlanta Yard, we catch up to the train after it comes out from under the former Union Station platforms, and then crawls into the rest of underground Atlanta where the terminal station used to stand, no longer as bustling as it used to be. The Georgia Railroad was chartered in 1834, making it the second oldest railroad in Georgia, only a year behind the Central Georgia Railroad. Work began in early 1835 and was completed to Greensboro, Georgia by 1838, reaching Madison circa 1841, and eventually in late 1845 the railroad reached terminus, now known as Atlanta, Georgia. The railroad went on to become a vital artery in traffic flow between the eastern ports and the west coast, quickly becoming one of the fastest east-to-west lines on the east coast, working alongside the Atlanta and West Point Railroad to reach the west. Eventual traffic decline over the years led to passenger service dwindling rapidly, but surprisingly, the Georgia Railroad held out passenger service on its own all the way up to when the Seaboard Coastline bought them out. Once the Seaboard acquired the route, traffic to Athens and Macon dropped quickly, leading to both branches being abandoned, and road freight traffic dropped as the triangle of CSX started to form during the PSR days.
Switch right, still clear, 6, looking for the 6. 6 is clear. Line to the house, 20 cars, looking 20 Hugo. For the house, 20.
Today, it's extremely hard to see any road trains on the Georgia Road apart from the occasional grain train to Crawford Field's feed mill and the rare coal train or two to South Carolina. Once Tilford Yard in Atlanta was demolished, traffic was brought to a halt beyond the intermodal pairs, which even now they are gone since Holsey Yard is no longer in use, preferred by the bigger Fairburn ramp in Fairburn, Georgia.
More cars, 3. 2 stopping 2. Car and a half. 1 more car, 1834. Better truck. Anytime good. We step out there and out. Step section, body CSX 1830. Engines all over the place. You can put them in full. Alright, put them in full. Flip 20.
Our local comes to its halfway mark this evening at the former Seaboard Airline and Coastline's Howells Transfer Yard. A sad excuse for a terminal yard, but apart from Holsey and Fairburn, it's the only yard CSX has when it comes to running traffic in and out of Atlanta. It's a pain, but the work has to get done regardless. From here, our local will drop its cars off and then pick up cars bound for the various towns along the Georgia Road all the way to Madison, Georgia, and then they will depart for Social Circle, setting out cars all along the way.
15, good 15. Got 838, 716. I need you to get up from the south end.
This is where we say goodbye and goodnight. It was a fun chase of the new CSX Heritage Unit, and hopefully you enjoyed the sights and sounds of a historical subdivision that's in a real sad slump right now. Someday we hope it gets better. But for now, we'll see you later at the tower.